What's up, everybody? We're back with another week. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com. And we got Mike looking fresh over here. What's up? What's up, Mike?
What's up?
You got a date today or what?
No, I'm selling a bunch of cocaine in Miami.
I'm not associated with that, so
I am just kidding, you guys. I am just kidding.
I feel like I feel obligated to share. Now, don't ask me this again in another year, but I feel obligated to share that I military background, trauma background. I have never done coke in my entire life, like not kind of, sort of, in no way. And let me be clear, like before anyone's like, oh, good on him. I just wasn't around it. Let's be really honest, because I might have checked to see what it smelled like.
Yeah, diesel fuel. It smells like diesel.
So you've heard, right?
Well, that's what I was told. No, it's funny. Yes, I burnt the candle at both ends, and then I even burnt the wax that fell off the candle. With way more than just cocaine. And last episode, I think we talked about red lines. I mean, I like that stuff too. Yeah. But if this is me, like with the half of 100 milligrams of caffeine, imagine me with like 300, or imagine me with that. I was like all about those kind of things because I spent so much of my time having fun.
Dude, while we're on this subject.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of drugs.
Oh.
I plan on doing some drugs this year.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Ayahuasca, DMT.
Ayahuasca.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. I've never experienced ayahuasca in the past. I have I want to use the word large, more than one handful of friends that have within the last year, 2 years of my life, I'd say within the last year, that I personally know that have went to experience ayahuasca in Costa Rica and shared their experience with me. I feel I am very called to it. I'm going to go through the experience this year. And I think this is a great topic to talk about live right in front of everyone.
Let's do it. I can share some learnings from, I have a decently extensive amount of research done firsthand with psychedelics. And I also have a decent amount of understanding with ayahuasca. And I would like to ask you some questions, and I would like to share some things, if that's cool. Question number one, what inspired you about these individuals to have you have the thought that says, oh, I would like to do this ayahuasca. I would like to experience this. What inspired you to want to go down that path? That's heavy, by the way.
Exceptional. So great, exceptional question. Thank you. I'm going to give us a two-part answer. And then, so the first initiation point, the inception of the whole thing, like how did we get like inception before I even actually encountered these people? So the inception is what activated my RAS, or my reticular activating system. And that's what pulled these people into my life. The inception was I heard about first, and then I went and read about studies of people microdosing psilocybin, or mushrooms, for wartime PTSD. There is actual nonprofit organizations that exist in America that are working with veterans, microdosing psilocybin for wartime PTSD and getting exceptional, like beyond what you can fathom results. So I'm like, really? So I'm like, my mind, because I'm auditory, I'm also auditory digital. My mind goes to, well, how? So I had to know the how. I go into research and I find out that you guys do your own research, right? Don't. What I find out is that, so they hook the brain up to, I forget the piece of equipment. Is it the EEG, EKG, ECG, whatever one that goes on the head and it measures the electrical pulses that happen throughout the brain. So they hook these clients up to this machine, and they ask them these questions about the trauma, and they're able to tell what part of the brain highlights. There's all the different parts of our brain activate and do different things.
Yes.
So they're able to tell what part of the brain highlights, and then they microdose these clients, and they bring them back and they ask them the question again. And there's portions of their brain that have to do with empathy, that release serotonin, dopamine. There's portion of their brains that are lit up like a freaking Christmas tree that showed zero, not a little bit, not a kind of an increase. that the brain did not light up when we asked about this question before. Okay, what does that mean? You have to understand that when you see a problem in the absence of empathy, i.e., we know these, we label these people as narcissists. When you cannot see, when it will not light up, you don't have a choice of how you see that experience in that very moment. Now, in NLP, I do some magic, so we try to help light some stuff up without the use of psychedelics. Psychedelics is shortcut, lit up. So this was enough evidence to me to say, oh, wow, there's scientifically something there. We're not saying like, did you try this and it worked? And someone said, yes, we have scientific evidence. I'm like, whoa. Then I start hearing about, now, for those of you who hear me talk about RAS another day, we're attracting everything into our lives. So now that this is on my mental radar, ta-da, people start showing up in my life talking about ayahuasca. Much like most of you listening today, I had no clue what ayahuasca was. So I started asking people, and then they started sharing. And the next thing you know, I meet the first person that, oh yeah, I just went to, where did you go? Rhythmia, which is the place that I'll go. And then I meet a second person. Oh yeah, where'd you go? Rhythmia.
Rhythmia.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I know someone else. Another Rhythmia. I'm like, what? The coolest thing. So the part two answer. So Inception is, I overheard people talking about the effects of the positive effects of microdosing psilocybin for wartime PTSD. I get introduced to people that have experienced ayahuasca. And then what blew my mind is that everyone that I personally know, I actually did it for those, check this out. A while back, I actually did an episode with a gentleman named Hosnick Martinez. He's a veteran himself. He experienced ayahuasca at Rhythmia. I did an episode with him earlier on in this this podcast. Everyone that told their story told me the exact same story. These people were from different countries, different states, countries. I said sometimes they told me the exact same story every time. I'm like, these people don't know each other,
Right?
like that's unique. And what is the story? The story is that they were opened up, they were able to trust and receive the information that their unconscious mind had for them. And when they came out of the state of the medicine, they were able to retain all this information, and they could no longer see their life in the same light that they used to see it in. You guys probably heard me tell my little limiting belief parody with Santa. Once upon a time, you believed in Santa, and you really fucking believed in Santa if that was your culture. You really, really believed in him. Then someone told you at school that Santa wasn't real. Then you realized you guys didn't have a chimney. Then you realized you never seen a reindeer fly. Eventually, with this new information, you could never believe in Santa again. You can't convince me to actually believe in Santa. I know now that there's not Santa, but once upon a time, I believed. Ayahuasca is this experience for your limiting beliefs that you've been carrying your whole friggin' life. That's my belief.
Let's unpack this a little further, if you don't mind, because I don't even want to go to the next question yet. I made some assumptions, and I actually had a couple questions guided. I'm coming to the table, you guys. I had a couple questions guided based on a response I thought he was going to make, and he didn't. But part of my question specifically, though, I want to just touch on this, was what specifically about these people led you to want to do the thing that they did?
And the experience they had, I think, would be the shortest.
So the experience that they had. So these people came to you, like, did you admire something about these people? I wanted to touch on this, like I want to chunk a little bit, if that's cool. Just because, like, let me give you an example of why I'm asking this. How's that? And while you process a little bit, when I look at someone who does something that I want, there's usually like an unconscious, like, oh yeah, I understand, that person is smart, that person is open, that person is strong. Okay, that person is strong. Let's just talk about that for a second. Okay, I see him in the gym. He's doing strongman 5x5s, right? Okay, and he's eating a whole bunch before that. So I want to do some 5 sets of 5 heavy with 2 scoops instead of 1 before I do that. And that's just a really, really shallow example. The reason I ask that, though, is because something like ayahuasca, people have an experience. It's the same experience. Everybody that does DMT is the same experience too. But ayahuasca is the natural and the pure way to do it. And
my understanding, DMT is hard to keep your downloads, is my understanding. I haven't got to experience it.
Yeah, I'm not as clear with the differences as far as that goes. I know Joe Rogan has done both of them and talks about them. He's done them many times and says that you have that same experience. One thing that I've heard, actually, no, I'll say this for just a second because I want to come back to this. So what was it about? Were these people, you mentioned a couple of these people were veterans?
One specifically.
One specific, is that the
I
one you
think
connected with?
no, all of them, all of them. I mean that's the one that was on the podcast. As
Oh,
far
okay.
as like,
Okay.
did I look up to them? I think, and it's
Maybe
hard
not
to.
looking up is not what I'm saying. I'm saying, is there a
Well, let me
part of
here.
them that
Hold
you
on.
admired?
Let me give it. Yeah, let me give it to you. When I look at when I look at it in terms of looking up to them, I believe, I don't know if it was the first one, but I believe, like, I know along the way there was definitely one person that was highly ascended in their journey. When you speak to someone that's very highly ascended, they're a little bit weird until you get 5 minutes into the conversation. You're like, I fucking feel you. So I did speak to someone that was highly ascendant, and that was someone that was like, oh, if they did it, it might be a thing. Most of the other people that I experienced that have done it, and I don't want to get too deep on Hosnick. You guys can go back and look in his episode. Some of these people were about to blow their brains out before this experience.
Sure. One thing that you just said a second ago is pretty profound, and I have a different way of interpreting that, and I wanted to share it.
Send it.
You said sometimes when you encounter someone that's highly ascended, they can be a bit weird. I agree with that. And I think the word that I associate with most is unfamiliar, because every single person is authentically unique. And
I
so
like
when
it.
somebody has highly ascended into the realm of who they are, and they're not trying to, you know what I mean? They're not wearing the same thing. They're not doing the same thing. They're not saying the same thing. They're literally at the point where they found who they are, and they've opened up their spiritual canal and they've welcomed that in.
Yeah.
That person is unfamiliar because you've never met that
Bro,
before. And you've met people. Yeah.
I appreciate your choice of words. I just love the choice of words
Thanks.
you use for all that. Keep going. No, keep going.
Oh, so let me tell you why ayahuasca is interesting to me. Um, I was going to ask you another thing, but I was like, you know what? Okay, that's interesting. Ayahuasca. So let me back this up really quick. Mushrooms, for example, if you eat a good dose of psilocybin mushrooms, which I've done maybe 15 times, we're talking like an eighth or more, 3.5 grams or more. I've eaten like 8 grams at a time and smoked some weed with it. And I've had like specific guided
Oh
experiences that I
man.
was looking to access. Now, let me just
I
tell you
can
what
imagine,
that.
dude. I just gotta say, I can imagine. I'm projecting here all over the place, and I am. I can just imagine, like, I am just like dissociating right now, and like, there is probably some listeners like, what? Because it's probably hard for some people to quantify, because they may be looking at this stuff as well. They may be looking at this stuff the way I look at the drug dealer that has the white coat.
Sure.
Meaning pharmaceutical drugs are just horrid chemical compounds. I can just imagine there's probably some people that are like trying to ascend on their journey, like, what? These people are telling us to do drugs? Well, no
Not
different than
necessarily.
no
Yeah.
different than the guy in the white coat that wants to prescribe you something for your depression.
Absolutely not telling it. Well, it's not that I'm not telling you, and it's not that I'm telling you. I'm just presenting data
No.
based
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
experiences.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm saying specifically, I guess I'm qualifying my experience. I've done a lot of these things, not the ayahuasca. However, I do understand after doing an eighth, after experiencing a legitimate mushroom trip, your
Can you talk a
brain.
little bit about that? Would you mind? Are you,
Yes.
please? I just
Yeah, I'd
anything
like
you want
to.
to share.
Yeah, I'd actually. So if you see the thing behind my head, is almost like the verse that I went to in one of these trips. Like that. Like literally just like that, but I had never seen that before that
And
I'm
were
aware
were
of.
you collecting, or I don't use of words? Were you receiving information as you were under having the experience?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, tell us a little about, dude. Whatever you want to share,
Oh
I want to hear
yeah.
whatever you want to unpack. I want to hear it.
Okay. So here's what happened. I was raised, I was my mom's very Catholic, and she raised me very, like, as I think Greg and I would, let's use a little lingo and then I'm going to break it. values level 4, religious, you know what I mean? Must follow specifics in order to have specifics. Okay. And I rebelled very hard against the rigid regiment, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because I just wanted to find whatever was out there that I was being told was not out there, because my heart was leading me to look around and say, there's a lot to life that I'm supposed to understand. And there's
Yeah.
like, dude, even like reading the Bible, there's all these references to saying that God is this awesome power that's ready to pour into you, that's going to fill you up with knowledge. And I'm like, okay, but like, that's not what you guys are really modeling. Although I didn't know the word modeling, that's not what you guys are really doing. You're just kind of like going through the motion, sit, stand, take communion, leave. Like, I don't see this whole, like, I'm made in the image of God. And like, I assume God is pretty badass. And like, I don't really see like that coming off. So I just kind of like, I'd heard there was a spiritual realm out there, but didn't really see it or feel it or understand it or even connect with it. And I didn't have anyone around me that was really evolved in that. Where we used to live, there it was a lot of shallow people in El Dorado Hills. No offense, but there was a lot of people looking to build up their upper middle class. There was the cookie cutter homes or the nice neighborhood, driving the Escalade, memberships here, financed out of the oblivion and credit. The reason I'm painting this picture is because this constant struggle for the external validation and that image like literally eats up the bandwidth for receiving the spiritual downloads, from what I understood. So
Wow.
I rejected it very hard. And this is what I know now. That's not my thought process when I was 18
Yeah, yeah, dude,
or
I love it. I
19.
love it.
Okay. So I remember the first time I ate the mushrooms, I understood how much more visual stuff was out there and auditory. Like I heard,
If you don't mind, like how much did you
I
if
ate three
if
and a
you
half
told me in
grams the
I was about to
first
say if you
time.
tell me in grams, I got so what is that in like a scale of 1 to 10 of like a whole bunch, like because I don't
Oh,
know
that's
enough
three and a
actually.
half grams, like is enough to take it's enough to take Don Hoff, our big friend, who's like 6'6" and 280 pounds of muscle. I'm just saying for reference, 3.5 grams is enough to take a person like that and get them very intoxicated.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so
And
I
you
was like a
and you went at
hundred.
this your first time?
I went my first time, and
Now,
I, I,
just out of curiosity, do you have any? I'm sorry, I know you got to. You're in it. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go
Did
for
you
it.
have anyone with you, or did you just say, "Hey, like I
Yes,
feel really okay, cool, cool, yeah,
I
keep
had a
going."
buddy with me who was like, "Yeah, I've done this before. Like, let's do it. We're shrooming."
So he was like
And
your guide, if you will. I mean,
yeah, and
obviously at this
I
age,
was
it was
like, "What
probably
do you
more
mean we're
fun, but
shrooming?" He's like, "Yeah," and he gave me like dude. It was nothing spiritual. It was like I'm giving you a McDonald's hamburger that's like 1 part burger and like 3 parts freaking stacked with mushrooms on the top of it. It tasted disgusting. I like gagged it down and then like smoked some weed so that my stomach wasn't on fire. I mean, like literally, it was not like a pleasurable experience. And I waited for like a long time and nothing happened. By this time, we had decided to go out like to a park, just like some nature, and it was like getting dark out, so like didn't even have the visuals right until like he opened the car door and I saw the top of the light coming down like a lightsaber. I mean, I was like, whoa. And it was interesting because I was so dissociated and it was so enhanced that I didn't understand if my mind was playing a trick on me or if my conscious reality was that energy is not to be seen. Like it's a shallow lens. So I didn't know if I was looking out of a lens that made everything amplified or if it was actually amplified and I was just looking out of a lens that hid that stuff. And so I had a lot of interesting thoughts and downloads. And this is actually when I came up with I was addicted to cigarettes. Like I was smoking tons of cigarettes. And I said, yeah, in the future, I'm going to quit smoking because I'm not going to want to be addicted to this like cancer filled tampon. And when I do quit smoking, I'm going to have to reprogram my brain because this is I tried to quit like probably 40 times at this time. When I was like 19, I'd already been trying to quit because I've been smoking for so many years before that.
yeah, yeah.
And anyway, this is the download I received on the mushrooms was something about my health. Okay, that was the first time. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing because actually what I have to say about this image back here is way more powerful. And this is also what I was talking about with your ayahuasca. When I was talking to you specifically, I was referencing the fact that after doing some research, like scientific research, they found that the human mind, every time you trip, goes another fraction of a standard deviation more open.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, no, dude. I knew
That-
nothing about that before you said that, and where I just okay. Let me share where my mind just drifted to, and I'm
yeah,
just yeah. When you said that, I know nothing about it. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I know people. That's what I thought. I was like, oh yeah, I know people that have utilized psychedelics a lot, and it seems like their mind is wide open. And it's funny because I share this all the time with the 126 bits. It seems like I know people that utilize a lot of psychedelics, and their mind seems like very open, but they're like immobilized. They're like, oh man. And when you said that, I was like, oh shit, they open up their mind too much. And I say opened
I
it
could
up too
see
much.
that.
What does open it up too much mean? Well, what I mean by it for everyone listening, and I don't know this, I'm guessing here. I'm in like I'm way in uncharted territories. I know factually, you Google this, we have up to 2 million bits of information that enters our mind every second. We're only consciously aware of 126. If your mind is open more, you're taking in more than that 126. So you're actually able to take in more of reality every single second. Well, the reason why we only take in 126 is so that all the other functions can go down. Like, you know how you're processing your stuff through your intestines right now? Oh, no, that's happening unconsciously.
Right.
If we fill too much of the conscious bandwidth, we start to shut down some of the other processes.
I
Um,
mean, and I could see that being an absolute, like, or maybe not an absolute, but I could see that being a very, that could be like the cautionary tale. It's almost like once you talk about your third eye opening, you get the good and the bad,
right.
and it ain't going to close. Let me tell
I've
you
always,
about,
uh, dude, I've always been curious, like people that, because I also know some people, a few that like are using ayahuasca like multiple times a year, and I'm like, what are you fucking searching for? Holy shit!
well,
And when do you
and
think you're gonna find it?
yeah, and I would, you can call it what you want. I would call that an absence of God in your life. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think like very, very clearly on this a lot. Like this is so let me tell you about this then. This thing behind me, this realm, it's a picture that I like and it's moving. But this one time when I ate the 8 grams, I felt as if I had accessed the spiritual realm and I saw it. Not only did I see it, I was able to communicate with another human without talking to them or looking at them or making any sounds. And that human was literally communicating back. And we looked at each other after like 30 minutes of this, and we knew what we were talking about without talking. We said zero. We didn't look. We literally both beamed out into the same dimension. And we had a whole on conference and then came back and I thought, what the fuck? Okay, maybe it's not all in my head. And whoa. And then you know what I mean? At this point, also, I was just starting to learn about Nikola Tesla and Napoleon Hill and how he consciously manifested. And it dawned on me like you can manifest and use all these resources that your unconscious mind has. And your unconscious mind is like a gatekeeper to the spiritual realm of infinite knowledge. And
Yeah.
you can consciously program it to access it or to shut it off. And so what I still see after all of this is like, oh, we have a whole giant like river of knowledge out there that we can access and impart on others or on ourselves in the world. We are like, dude, it talks about the Bible, but it says it very, very, very differently. It says like we are stewards of the land and shepherds of the sheep. Like we are literally of this knowledge that is out there we can tap into. Like, dude, Tesla wrote in journals about meditating and having a download of how to pull energy out of the sky. What? Like that's
Yeah.
not something that his mind just knew. Like, or is it? Like his
Well,
mind
here's
was
the
able to tune into the frequency.
and I want to take an opportunity to dive into this a little bit more.
Yeah.
We're like we say that's not something his mind could have just known. No, absolutely, positively, factually not. I deal in minimal absolutes and absolutely not on that one. Here's why: nothing ever created by man has ever been created or taught before it was imagined. He was able to imagine differently than we are. Hmm.
And are you saying
Be
that the imagination
able
is a
to.
tangible?
I mean, I don't know. I guess you'd have to talk. I would. My knee jerk reaction is no. Like it's definitely not tangible.
Okay. Like
Is my
is a
knee jerk
thought
reaction?
tangible?
No. I mean, my knee jerk reaction again is no. I'd be open to hear it,
Okay.
anything, but I would say no. I can't hold a thought. I can't hold imagination. But they're
Okay.
real, but not tangible.
So what about a goal?
I would suggest again the knee jerk reaction. I would suggest the goal's not tangible.
Okay. Okay. And so I look at the thoughts as, and maybe this is the mushrooms, but I
Put it
no,
on us.
seriously, I look at the thought as a tangible. Like I think Greg can share my thought right now. I
Well,
think I
no,
can share his thought.
I'm super like I'm like I'm just tapping into. And for those of you, if you're more tapped into it, do reach out to me, shoot me a message, put some love on me. I'm just tapping into the learning of the collective unconscious. I fully believe that I can access. Now, we're gonna get real weird for people, right?
Let's do it.
I am. I fully believe that I can.
Unfamiliar.
We're gonna get real unfamiliar for people. Thank you very, very, very much. I believe that I have not done this in life. Okay, just so we understand yet. I believe that I can access the information that the tree has
Sure. Why
when
not?
we talk about the collective unconscious. So I believe we can share thoughts without speaking. When I look at tangible, and I'm not sure, I might be with you. I would love to hear more about this because I like talking about abstract and esoteric stuff. But I think that right now, I'm holding the word tangible as can I put it in my hand or can I dump it out of a wheelbarrow?
Understood. A language or lingo around tangible, right? Like I
Yeah,
might have a
yeah, and
different
map. Yeah,
definition of,
yep, yep, yep,
I might have a different definition of tangible, or
yeah,
maybe I
yeah.
need to learn a definition. I'm open to either.
Right, 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 right. I love this, dude. I freaking love this. I believe also, I believe that the real one of the true marks in growth, like it's a byproduct. You don't do this and then you grew, but because you grew, one of the byproducts is. I think one of the real marks of growth and ascension in someone's life is the ability to sit down with a viewpoint, hear the opposing viewpoint, and walk away from that table with the other person's viewpoint. I didn't say you had to bail on yours, but the ability, most people cannot, their ego will not let them sit down and I say A and you say B. First of all, I don't let you talk about B because what if it accidentally overrides A? So I think like the true mark of growth and ascension is, if you say B, if I say, oh, well, tell me about B, and then if I find out that B, like if you provide me information that I can't no longer now I have to realize that there is no chimney and reindeers don't fly. I'm willing to get up from the table and say, you know what? That's pretty cool. I'm going with B now.
You know, yeah, I just had a bunch of thoughts on that would probably be a really long conversation.
When I was talking, I was like, we're opening a can of worms here. I was thinking,
Did you?
well, we'll do
Yeah,
another
yeah, yeah.
episode.
No, totally.
Where I was at on that one is realizing like the realization of like, hey, what is tangible or what is it? Hey, is this goal? And like, the thought came to me in terms of like, no, but tell me your side. I might want to change mine.
So I believe that kind of like you've said before with goals placed in the future of your timeline, remembering what happened in the future, you couldn't remember it if it wasn't a tangible at some point. And so when I look at an idea, I look at an idea as a highly valuable tangible that's just not, I can't physically touch it, but I literally feel like I can touch it. Not only do I feel like I can touch it, I feel like if I don't even have to close my eyes anymore. I used to. I feel like I can mold it and shape it and change the density of it and change the compression if it was a motor part or whatever. Like literally,
Cimorelli's.
in just the thought itself, and then I believe I can see the value in it, And I also believe that other people can see value that I can't see, that I probably need to look at as well. And also that other ideas can provide positives and also vulnerabilities. And I used to see vulnerability as weakness. Now I see them as opportunity for expansion or opportunity for, modification. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if I were to get up here and say, hey man, I have no vulnerabilities, I'm perfect, I'm literally close. This morning I threw up the teachability index. And if I were to say, like, I don't need to raise myself on the teachability index, or I don't need to raise myself on the expansion, that means I don't want to expand to an extent. If I said, that's an away from, that's being phrased by my ego as a towards. If I say, oh, okay, yeah, this thought that I have, right? This tangible thing, there's actually like another way that this could be looked at. And I'm willing, just like you said a second ago, I would like to hear another perspective, and maybe I'll take that perspective. That is being willing to accept change. And that's an easy change. It's not like I'm saying, hey, throw out your fucking TV and get your ass to the gym, right? Wait, I like my TV. Okay, then you're not willing to accept change. No, I'm just saying, like, simply with the thought, I do see the thought as a model, like as a tangible. And I believe I can take that tangible. And in fact, I actually think Greg and I could do this. There's some other people I believe I could do this with. And there's probably a lot of you out there that I don't even know that I can do this with. But I believe that we could literally, I could take this thought and I could meditate it into your head, and you could receive like the exact thought. It's almost like when you and someone you're connected to, like Trina and you, go, oh, at the same time, and you've thought of the same thing. Because
Absolutely.
it's easy to do. It's easy to do with the wife or the spouse or someone you're really, really, really connected to, because you guys have been sharing that portal.
Absolutely.
And again, I might sound like a very unfamiliar person, but at the same time, like, hey, that's how I see it. And I saw it that way, and you can't really, like, I don't choose to unsee it. And I don't even know how I'd unsee it at this point, because it was wild.
Dude, I've kind of, I've adopted a little bit. I mean, I'll reevaluate. I may choose to neglect the adoption. I've adopted weird as a badge of honor up until now. Like I did for full on, like loved it. Badge of honor. Like I'm in there like swimmer. Like if I get normal, that's weird. I love, and I might end up replacing it with unfamiliar.
Merry Christmas.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, everyone. I appreciate everyone.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap this one up. We're gonna be back with you guys next week, and we're gonna bring ton more value. Mike, why don't you close us out and close us out?
I'll close you guys out by, I'd love to. I'm going to close you guys out with a quick statement on where unfamiliar came from, because for the longest time, if you're not watching, watch this video and go to the end of it, or watch the whole thing and follow along. My hands are unfamiliar. Now, my hands used to be weird or different, and it took me a while to get to a point where unfamiliar and different was okay. And it took me a really long time to get to where it was cool, and weird became cool, or eccentric. And then it was like, oh, it's not weird, it's fucking unfamiliar. And that's whatever you want to interpret it as. But to me, it's special. And it sounds like, and looks like to you, it's special too. Because when someone's unfamiliar, that doesn't mean that they're bad. It means you haven't yet understood the barometer or the parameters or the gifts that this thing over here has yet in possibility. So let's close it out with this. I encourage you, next time you think something might be weird, and Greg, this is not, well, here, and next time you look at something and say, oh, like, I don't like that. Not even necessarily weird, but just, I don't like that or whatever. Look at it like, why is that unfamiliar to me? Is this something that I could understand? And if I could understand it, could I take value from it? And if I could take value from it, is that a positive? And if that's now a positive, is that something I might want to replicate or practice in my own life? And if it's something I might want to replicate and practice in my own life because it's positive, because I saw something that I initially thought was weird and now I thought it was unfamiliar, and because of that turned it into a positive, am I growing? I'd love to hear your feedback on that.
Awesome, y'all. Go ahead and put it in the comments. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. Be great. It's already in you. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.